because now we got past the end of June and the results are certified by the Secretary of State's office and all that. So we now know who the matchups are going to be in the fall. You're going to have Brian Dahle against Gavin Newsom. At least that's a clear-cut thing for the gubernatorial. But in the other races where you say, wait a minute, what is this? Does it matter to me? Like controller matters a lot. And Lanhee Chen, who is more than eminently qualified for the gig, is officially the contender going up. There'll be two choices, the incumbent Democrat and then Lanhee Chen for controller, and he joins us here on AM 760. Congratulations. That wasn't exactly a nail-biter because you had a great lead, right? Were you ever in jeopardy of falling off of that or not?
No, Mark. We came out of the primary as the leading vote getter. We look back historically, by the way, only the second Republican to win a statewide election in the last 10 years, and we won with the largest margin in recent history. We actually beat my Democrat opponent by 15 points. And so we feel very good and energized going into the general election campaign here. And by the way, got a great deal of support from San Diego County, which is really important. It's going to be a crucial county for us to do well in as we get toward the fall. So I'm really pleased. I'm very excited. And, I think people ought to care about the controller's race because the controller is the person who gives us accountability or is supposed to give us accountability for where all of our money is spent as a state.
Right.
And we certainly know we don't have that today.
And you told us before the election, Lanhee Chen, that if you get that controller spot, you can do a whole lot of accountability, really hitting the ground running from day one because you don't need the blessing of the governor or the assembly or the state senate, correct?
That's correct. In fact, we can look into any program of state government and we can audit it. It's the only statewide official that can audit any program of state government at any time, or this gets even better, Mark, any local government. So you think about school districts.
Mm-hmm.
I read the other day, $63 billion into our school districts in California, and they don't know where the money went. There is nobody keeping accountability for the $63 billion from the federal government that went into our public schools. And I want to know, did it actually help our kids? Did it actually go to pay teachers more? Did it actually go to do the things that they said it was going to do? Or did it just go to pay some bureaucrat, some fat cat in the middle? That's the kind of stuff that the controller can get to the bottom of, and that's why I'm so excited about this race.
Now, with the Employment Development Department also under Gavin Newsom, that's not exactly gotten to be something pristine. It's better than it was halfway through COVID season number one, but that's still a challenge. We've had the DMV scandals and so forth, and now we have Newsom saying, don't worry about it. We're going to get you some relief, and he's acknowledging what anybody in the real world knows. It's expensive to live in California, especially, but you'll get those checks according to the convoluted way that they're going to do that, and never fear, we're going to just officially get those to you in October, which is right before the election. Do you have concerns over how that's going to be administered, or does that become like an EDD, Employment Development Department, bogged down thing where suddenly checks are going to inmates in California prisons, as we recall happened with the other deal? That just seems, and again, people need relief now. What takes them so long?
Right. Well, we have a very checkered history in California with checks being cut to people who aren't supposed to get them. You're talking about the EDD or unemployment insurance fiasco. You had checks going to prisoners in state prison. You had them going to criminal enterprises in Russia and China. And now we're hearing from Governor Newsom, he's going to basically cut checks to people who he feels like cutting checks to. And the question there becomes, who's going to keep a watchful eye on this program? Who is going to make sure that the money is going to where they say it's going to go? And that is the controller's job, by the way. When the controller is asleep at the wheel and asleep at the switch, you end up with $20 billion on unemployment insurance fraud. And who knows where this, they've allocated $10 billion to what they're calling an inflation relief program, which is a joke because it's actually going to make inflation worse. But putting that aside for a moment, where is this $10 billion going to go? Who is going to be the watchdog keeping an eye on this? And that's why I say to people, hey, listen, your controller needs to be a watchdog, not a lapdog for the Sacramento insiders. And for too long, we've had controllers in the state who are nothing more than lapdogs. They just sit there and they nod and they smile, when the governor says he's going to do something, and they don't lift a finger to try and make sure there's accountability.
Is that the problem
and
we
it's
have
about
now?
time we have somebody did that.
Right, with your opponent, talking to Lanhee Chen, who will go up against the incumbent state controller, who's he was a Democrat. I mean, that's the choice. I'm just happy that it wasn't two Democrats going at it, because that's how the system works. So, but the opportunity is, and right now the controller could do what you're talking about, but is it just what you mentioned?
Yeah.
Is just kind of like a nod and just do what the governor says with the current person?
My opponent, actually, the sitting controller, is actually leaving office, so this will be an open seat.
Oh, that's okay.
And my opponent, who's a member of the Democratic establishment, we like to say she's in the go along to get along club, because the reality is, and she said this in an interview recently, that before she issues an audit result on somebody, she's going to go visit with them first, and basically say, hey, is there anything we can do about this? So that just gives you the mentality that my opponent has. She's not interested in holding her colleagues in Sacramento accountable. She's interested in going along to get along so she can advance her own political interests. Now, that's one model. That's fine. That's her prerogative. But I present a very different model, Mark, for voters. I'm going to be someone who's going to go and ask tough questions and demand results, and I'm not going to give people a heads up when they're getting audited. We're going to audit them, and then we're going to tell them, hey, what have you done with all this taxpayer money? Taxpayers deserve an answer. So I'm not interested in getting on the good side of Gavin Newsom or any other Sacramento politician. What I am interested in is in defending taxpayers. And my opponent has a demonstrated record of going along to get along. And that's just not the kind of politics that I subscribe to. That's not the kind of policy-making environment we need to be in. And so I believe very, very strongly that what we need is somebody who'll finally stick up for taxpayers. We just don't have that in this state. We've got too many people who watch out for the other politicians, and not nearly enough folks who watch out for taxpayers.
Yeah, well, Gavin Newsom's very concerned about taxpayers in Florida, apparently, and that's taken some of the distraction. Now, I'm very encouraged by the fact that I think you have a really good, solid chance. More people learn why the controller spot is important in California, but you get a lot of things done very, very quickly. Also, the fact that our friend Nathan Hochman made it into the race versus Rob Bonta for Attorney General, that's going to be really interesting as well. So there's, it's amazing that kind of, no offense, but non-sexy spots like controller, which people go, what does that mean?
That's okay.
But then an Attorney General, these are two really big change agent positions in this state that could help solve a lot of things, and I think it's really fun to watch. And obviously, it's going to be essential to think clearly and people to make the right choice on that coming up in before we know it, the November election, when those quote unquote free money checks are going out just conveniently in October. We know what they're up to with that. Lanhee, congratulations on that, and we'll look forward to talking more as we get closer to the election. Good luck.
Looking forward to it, Mark. Thank you.
Lanhee Chen also got big support out of San Diego to make that happen. So that's going to be interesting and could be solving a lot of California headaches sooner rather than later. And Newsom and company ought to really sweat that just a bit.